1 month after giving birth to her daughter, she put her baby in the microwave and cooked her to death. I'm True Crime Caitlin, and this is the murder of Paris Talley. Baby Paris was born in early August 2005, her parents being 25-year-old China Arnold and Paris Talley. The family all lived together in a low-income area of Dayton, Ohio, along with another 4 of China's children. She was a mother of 5. China had a history with the police. Just a couple of years prior, she had gotten charged with abduction and on a separate occasion, forgery. She was also a person who really struggled with addiction/substance abuse. The relationship between China and Terrell was a very toxic one. The couple would often get into very fiery and explosive arguments, which most of the time ended in physical violence. On the evening of the 30th of August 2005, the couple were once again viciously arguing. Terrell wasn't sure about the paternity of baby Paris. He didn't think that he was Paris's father, and an extremely intoxicated China was arguing back with him, saying of course he was the baby's father. This argument resulted in Terrell storming out of the house, and in a fit of rage and fury, China would go on to do the absolute unthinkable. She scooped up baby Paris, who was only 28 days old. She placed the newborn into the microwave, clicked the button as if she was going to reheat pizza, and shut the door, locking her baby inside as the microwave switched on and essentially began to cook the baby. The inside of the microwave was so scorching hot that it reached over 170 degrees, and just thinking what that temperature would do to a little baby's skin, eyes, cells is absolutely unthinkable. Paris was left inside of this switched on microwave for around about 2 minutes before she was finally pulled out. China would take Paris to A&E around about 7 a.m. the following morning, and the condition that the baby was brought in really confused the medical staff. She had no pulse, no respirations. Her internal temperature was around about 90 degrees. She had several marks across the front of her body, including on her face, torso and limbs, and it looked like her skin was peeling. She looked burnt, but not burnt at the same time, because she didn't have scabs or very prominent blisters on her body. It looked like a lot of the injuries were internal. The medical staff did everything that they could to try and revive baby Paris. However, they were unsuccessful, and she would be pronounced dead at the hospital, not even 1 month old. Because this was such a suspicious death, the police were notified and they brought both China and Terrell in for questioning. China initially told the doctors that she had woken up in the middle of the night and saw that Paris had a temperature, that she put a fan over the top of Paris's Moses basket to try and cool her down, but by the time it got to the next morning and her temperature was still sky high, that is when she decided to bring her to the hospital, but only after she saw her other children off to school. That was the story that she told the doctors. She would tell the police something completely different, however. She stated that she had fallen asleep on the couch in the living room with baby Paris lay on her chest, that Paris had woken up at around about 2:30 a.m. for some milk, China gave her it, and the two fell back asleep. When she awoke sometime later, Paris was gone, but Terrell was there, and so China said that she just automatically assumed that Terrell had put Paris in her Moses basket. When it was suggested to China that Paris was burnt, she feigned complete and utter shock, having no idea how that could have possibly happened. When the police spoke to Terrell Law, he had a very straightforward story that he stuck to. He said that once he arrived home after the argument, he saw Paris asleep on China's chest, and then that was it. China Arnold wouldn't be arrested until months later in that November. This was because the police couldn't really figure out what had happened to Paris. This was until another horrifying, unfortunate story broke about another child who was murdered after being placed into a microwave. When the police heard about this case, they decided that they were going to look to see if maybe that had happened to Paris. And what they would find proved their hunch. They found Paris's DNA inside of the microwave. During her time in jail while she was awaiting her trial, China Arnold allegedly told her cellmate that she had put Paris in the microwave, and she had done this because she was worried about Terrell finding out that he wasn't Paris's father, even though DNA would prove that he was Paris's dad. There would be a total of 3 trials for the murder of Paris Talley. The first trial ended in a mistrial, trial. At her second trial, China Arnold was convicted, however her charges overturned due to misconduct, and her third and final trial once again saw her convicted for the horrific murder of her daughter, Paris Talley. During the trial, the medical examiner came over extremely emotional as they were describing Paris's injuries, literally describing her as having been cooked. China was handed a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. This is a charge and conviction that she has tried to appeal, yet none of her appeals have been successful.